friends. Today is Tuesday, the 22nd. 22nd. 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2. These two albums are two of the most criminally underrated albums ever, in my opinion. Um, Jackson Jacobs and the Numbskull record by Captain Crunch. These records are incredible and should be considered up there with, like, Jackson Jacobs. They were like the Ohio players of Michigan, as far as I'm concerned. They obviously came from Detroit. Um, anyway, Diamond Watch, I think, is their best record. One of the best straight up just funk records. Just that funky Hammond B3, the sick bass. You've Jip Jepson on drums, Charlie Sparkler on bass. Chuck gets into that crazy funk. Maurice Gobbs on keys, beautiful Hammond work. But yeah, this record in particular, I think "Keep My Eye on You," it's so perfect. It just sets the funky opener, that crazy bass line, goes into that like 5/4 shuffle section for a second, and then goes back to the groove. And then Groove It. Come on. You can't argue with Groove It. Groove It does what the name of the song is. It grooves. It moves. It'll make you put some pep in your step, some dip in your hip, some sauce in your rocket. Can't Stop the Groove is next. We just can't even stop how we're grooving it. We grooved it, now we can't even stop grooving. That's how much we're grooving on this record. And then my single favorite song, Thunderslam. Thunderslam rules. It is the best song that Jackson Jacobs ever played on. Yeah. And I'm including Throb. I know Throb is really good. We'll get to Throb. But anyway, after Thunderslam, I can't even describe Thunderslam. You just have to, it's magical. It's just that sick bass, that like deep in the pocket drums, and then just that funky organ over the top. Anyway, after that is Because of You, which is a nice like piano ballad, like love song, like solo type, more like a formal type piece, kind of a, nice little breather. And then Gotta Get Into It. We're back into the funk, back into the, yeah, we are back into it. It's funky. There's like crazy bass, and the keyboards are like soloing. And then Throb. Throb is where it all just like falls apart, goes crazy, like takes it to another level of like, you thought that Thunderslam was as deep as the funk could get. Throb is just like taking that even deeper, even crazier. It's not very long, but just that groove. You just can't fuck with it. Anyway, Perfect 10 record. Diamond Watch by Jackson Jacobs. Also, this came out a couple years later. I think this came out in like 73. Numbskull by Captain Crunch. It's one of the best prog records. It's up there, I think, with like Yes and Genesis and King Crimson. But really, it's more up there with like Soft Machine, Gentle Giant, Amon Dole. The more kind of obscure Kaleidoscope, but important kind of progressive rock acts. They came out of that kind of Canterbury scene, but a little later. This album is 73. So, anyway, this band obviously would be nothing without Stuart Grassriver's incredible guitar. Stuart is one of the best guitar players ever. Easily, like, one of the most underrated, but I think he's incredible. I love his solos. They're so tasteful, and just he feels like he's just like endlessly exploring this beautiful improvisation with his compositions, which get incredibly complex and go into these different time changes and go into these different modes. And anyway, I think Captain Crunch's best record is Numbskull. It opens with Hounds of the Forgotten, which is kind of this crazy tribal drum beat bombast, and then there's like shredding guitar over it. And then it segues into Solipsism, which is, again, in a weird time signature. It's in like 7/12. But it's like I don't know who plays violin on this. Maybe it's George. Maybe it's Jamesy. I don't know. I don't think it's Ian because Ian's playing guitar. But anyway, it's a great little breather after that crazy epic opening. Rock your face off. Solipsism is perfect. Next is Lovecraft in Satin, which is one of my favorite songs on the record. It goes through so many sections. They're so complicated. It's like, imagine Steve Howe on acid. Imagine Robert Fripp on crack. Imagine Jimi Hendrix on steroids. Imagine steroids on PCP. Anyway, it's so good. Lovecraft and Satin, my favorite song on the record. Entropy Part 2 is next. I don't know what Entropy Part 1 was. We just started with the Part 2, and that's all they gave us, but I'm grateful that we got it, because it's one of the cooler, kind of more melodic composed parts in the record. And then it ends with Magnet. Magnet was the whole second side of the second record, so this whole thing is just like one crazy, long improvisational jam. Magnet, I think, has the best guitar soloing. I don't know if it's George or Stewart, just like the guitar weaving. It's incredible. You have Jamesy on drums, just fucking holding it down and going in these weird pockets. I like he's like kind of like a John Bonham type drummer. And then, yeah, it goes through these different melodic composed sections, and then there's these beautiful guitar soloing sections. And then after that, it kind of collapses into noise. And then they bring it back to a beat. And then there's like this lovely organ soloing that's slowly there with the other instruments. And then slowly, kind of one by one, the other instruments fade out. The guitar fades out, and then the bass fades out, and then the drums fade out. And it's just keys. It's just very quiet keys. And that's what you're left with. And honestly, this is one of the most beautiful records I've ever heard. Anyway, Captain Crunch, Jackson Jacobs. I don't understand why people don't review good music. It's like, do people not know that good music exists anymore?